No, it's okay. Okay? Okay. Okay. Hello to all of you, esteemed Secretary General, distinguished guests. I have the honor to welcome you here today at the Greek Pavilion in COP28 to a roundtable organized by the Ministry of Tourism of Greece to discuss on supporting the sustainability of coastal and maritime tourism. Professor Alessandra Priante, Director of the Regional Department for Europe of UNWTO, she couldn't be with us today. She has sent a video to make a brief statement on behalf of the organization. Please, Alessandra.
Dear Secretary General Miron Flores, esteemed colleagues, dear Panagiotta, distinguished guests, it is a privilege to be able to address you today. Please allow me to start by thanking our colleagues and dear friends from the Ministry of Tourism of Greece for their kind invitation. I'm really humbled to be part of this gathering that recognizes the critical role of tourism in developing policies with a strong climate action potential for coastal and maritime tourism. Coastal destinations are increasingly facing challenges like climate change, changing consumers' needs and preferences, digitalization, geopolitical issues such as migration, for example, and reputation. In the long term, the unsustainable development of tourism in these areas can result in the degradation of the unique natural habitats and ecosystems along the coasts, with a detrimental spillover on the economic activities and social well-being of the communities. We therefore support the efforts of our members in the Mediterranean basin, led by Greece, to establish a comprehensive and effective guidance on the development of maritime and coastal tourism, involving public and private tourism stakeholders. This approach will ensure the long-term sustainability of our sector. The Eastern Mediterranean boasts pristine coastlines and is a treasure that attracts visitors from all around the world. It is therefore particularly vulnerable and demands all our undivided attention in ensuring excellent governance and management. We must collaborate to address the challenges deriving from climate change and mitigate its impact on coastal and maritime environments. It is with this in mind that the UNWTO joined forces with the Ministry of Tourism of Greece in 2021, in full pandemic, to establish a research and monitoring center for coastal and maritime tourism in Mediterranean. We're proud to collaborate with our Greek colleagues on this journey of research and innovation to drive further development of the sector, improving the knowledge and understanding about the current situation, and channeling them into informed decision-making and effective solutions for future growth. It is imperative that we balance the needs of the tourism sector with our shared responsibility to preserve the planet for the future generations. UNWTO is committed to building its initiatives around the Sustainable Development Goals. In the case of coastal and maritime tourism development, we focus primarily on SDGs 12, 14, and 15, on sustainable consumption and production, the sustainable use of oceans and marine sources, and the conservation and preservation of biodiversity. Through the One Planet Sustainable Tourism Program, co-led by the UNWTO, we strive to enhance the sustainable development impacts of the tourism sector by 2030 by developing, promoting, and scaling up sustainable consumption and production practices that boost the efficient use of natural resources while producing less waste and addressing the challenges of climate change and biodiversity. Just last week, at COP28, where you all are gathered in beautiful Dubai, We organized a side event on Tourism United for Climate Action, delivering on the commitments of the Glasgow Declaration. And this was a great opportunity for the global community to come together and reiterate our dedication to the Glasgow Declaration, showcasing the sector's capacity to enact concrete climate action, including measurement of tourism emissions, decarbonization strategies, regenerative approaches for destinations, and innovative finance. As we move forward, we shall continue to work with the stakeholders to guide data-driven policies and foster sustainable approaches to coastal and maritime tourism, emphasizing the importance of community engagement, youth empowerment, and responsible tourism practices. If we are to steer away from the destruction caused by climate change, we must act now. We must honor and enact our commitment to a greener, more sustainable future and leverage all our knowledge to inspire innovative responses. Thank you very much and have a great discussion.
Thank you, Alessandra, for your intervention. Your concern for sustainable tourism development and our awareness of a lack of data on coastal and maritime tourism has led us to follow a common path and to join our efforts to establish a monitoring center for coastal and maritime tourism in the Mediterranean. We will be discussing this project further. Let us begin with our first panel today, focusing on the policy approach to issues of sustainability in coastal and maritime tourism. We have the honor to welcome as speakers Mr. Sergio Gueiro, Portugal, Senior Director for Knowledge Management and Innovation, Turismo de Portugal. Please. Mrs. Olga Theocharous Papageorgiou from Cyprus, Senior Tourism Officer, Directorate of Financial Planning and Coordination, Deputy Ministry of Tourism, Cyprus. Mrs. Julie Green, Vice President, Strategic Communications Europe, from CLIA. Mrs. Flora Leroy, Inter-Mediterranean Commission Conference of Peripheral Maritime Regions, Senior EU Programs Officer. It is now my pleasure to give over the floor to our Secretary General for Tourism Policy and Development, Mr. Myron Flouris, who will moderate the panel. Thank you. Please.
One more time. Oh, it's okay. Put it down. Thank you very much, Yola, for these introductory remarks. And so, we are going to our main session today. First of all, thank you very much for joining us to this round table. Our hybrid participants and our, physical participants. Today we're discussing about the sustainable development of coastal and maritime tourism, placing particular emphasis on innovation and on data. The thing is that in Greece, actually, in the Ministry of Tourism, we have given a priority to this kind of projects because we believe that we are in an era that we should put emphasis on that fact because actually it's crucial for the further development, sustainable development of tourism in Mediterranean Sea and the whole coastal and maritime tourism. So let me mention a little bit some initiatives we are doing now in Greece, and I think it's a flagship projects. Just to put, the base to have a fruitful conversation. First of all, we aim to operate a national observatory for sustainable tourist development. Actually, our main goal here is to have, some indicators, to define indicators, KPIs, let's say, I don't know how we call them, actually, and to gather all the necessary data in order to have a clear view of what is going on to the main maritime tourism and all this, let's say, sea tourism and the coastal tourism, because we can get that we have a little bit, let's say, we face new challenges in order to put them in the sustainability agenda. It's the first initiative I want to mention. The second initiative is that Ministry of Tourism of Greece is also part of the EU Commission Dates project, whose primary goal is to explore methods for establishing secure and reliable tourism data space, the known thing. Everybody in tourism, and especially Europe, is looking for data, but the first thing is to get them, the second thing is to store them, and then to use them in a way that we can get information, we can get knowledge, and insight, and of course innovation. The third and project I would like to mention, and it's a core initiative in the Greek government, is the establishment of Monitoring Center for Coastal and Maritime Tourism. It's a law of the Greek government. We legislate that 1 month ago, and I will elaborate on that a little bit later. But enough for the Greek, let's say, approach of the sustainability in the maritime and coastal tourism. I would like to give the floor to you, because actually I want to know, according to your experience so far, what the key challenges confront the maritime and coastal regions of the Mediterranean regarding the social, economic, and environmental sustainability of coastal and maritime tourism, what you have seen so far, and what we are doing on this thing. What potential solutions can be envisioned to address these challenges, what we can do about that, and of course to tell us from your perspective what's your approach and what you are thinking of doing the coming years. So, the floor is over to Mr. Guerreiro. Please.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I would like to thank the Ministry of Tourism of Greece for inviting me to be here. It's all the pleasure that I'm here with you in this session and share a bit of our experience regarding sustainability in tourism. That's one thing that we've been working for a long time in Portugal, and it's quite crucial for us. I'm at Turismo Portugal. I'm the National Tourism Authority in Portugal. I'm responsible for data, knowledge management, and innovation. So what I'm gonna basically share for you today is the role that data can play in enabling sustainable tourism policies. So this is actually one recent quote which highlights one I would say, very important block for us, which is sustainability. It's typically one thing that goes to second place when there is an economic or social crisis like we had in the last 2 years. But what actually in the end of the day happened is sustainability is liver than ever, and it's part of everyone's agenda around the table. Just look at some quotes that I took from the last WTM recently in London, and everyone is talking about sustainability from the destination side, from the countryside, but also from the company side. And I quoted Greece on a very interesting initiative on this, and I think it's critical for us. Sustainability is not a buzzword. We've launched our strategy in 2017, and sustainability was put on the core of our strategy. And we have committed, our government committed, to achieve specific goals which are accountable for all our audience in Portugal regarding economic and social and environmental pillars. So it's something that for us on the data side and on the policy side was a challenge, because typically we measure success in our industry using the traditional indicators. We use arrivals at our destinations, arrivals at our hotels, spending from international visitors in our countries. So it's not enough. When you put a strategy where sustainability is not a buzzword, but it is actually a very concrete block for us, that was a challenge for us in the data area. And what we've done, we've created a global data hub for tourism intelligence to support decision making on the public sector, both at national, regional, and local level, but also from the private sector. And this was actually to advise and to support the development of the strategy, because it doesn't mean anything if you have a nice strategy, but if you don't measure it, if you don't put instruments to say, am I going in the right direction, am I not going in the right direction? So the challenge for us was, how do I integrate in our system? And we've done it, I would say, in a nice way. How do I integrate the sustainability indicators within our system? And like Greece, we are, I would say, traditional, long-standing destination, one of the most competitive in the world. We suffer from seasonality. We suffer from concentration of demand in specific places. We suffer from concentration of markets that come to our countries. So we need to measure progress in this to achieve, to understand if we are going in, if we are taking also the right directions. Another thing that we learned is it's not enough to use the traditional data sources that come from our administrative sources or the statistical offices or the central bank. So we also designed a roadmap to actually integrate new kinds of data that can support us in the progress. And by that, I mean the role of big data here is quite important. We've started in 2016 with reviews from tourists within our destinations to understand how good are we performing in that sense. We moved to airlines also, and one important way to understand what's going to happen in the future, so give the tools to municipalities and private sector to actually cope with the challenges that come from that. We also moved in 2016, 2017 to mobile data, not an easy issue to deal with, but I think very effective. If you think about islands, if you think about very defined areas of territory, so quite useful in that sense. Also moved to credit card and bank card data to understand what are the patterns and the shifts of spending within destinations. Another very important block, transparent was the way for us, is there is one very important pillar of the tourism statistics that is not covered. We're talking about short-term rental, which is not a small issue in several countries, but it's, at least in Portugal, a very important element of our tourism offer. So we need also to understand not only from the supply side, because we have that data, but also from the demand side, and that's why we're moving into that. And geolocation will be, I would say, our next steps for the future in this sense. So we've created a public platform that is publicly available. It's called Travel BI. You can check it online. The Portuguese version is pretty much more complete. But what we are doing now, we have 170 dashboards available for consumption. We cover 25 international markets. We monitor 35 sustainability tourism indicators, and the most important block of it, we are serving more than 67,000 users yearly, and with more than 300,000 visualizations, which means that what we are delivering to our public is relevant for the decision-making process. These are a few examples of the traditional way, and we've started with this. Is the easiest part. So we monitor several dimensions, more than 20 teams around our tourism industry. Everything is publicly available, and users can explore the data from employment, from environment, from all the 35 sustainability tourism indicators as a whole. But at the same time, we've developed a new tool that we call SIGTour, which is putting geolocation data to understand. This is actually our office back in Lisbon, and you can see what are the hotels, and the darkest ones are the short-term rentals that exist within our office, and you also see in orange what is the future supply that is going to be available there. So this is a very important tool for, first of all, who is on the spatial planning work, so understanding what is possible to do in the territory, what is already in place, and what is already in process of installing, and at the same time understanding how can you do that, at the same time giving municipalities the tools for acting, at the same time giving the tools for investors to do the right decisions. As we're talking about maritime, this is actually one of the new spots in Portugal in terms of development. This is in the Atlantic Ocean on the eastern part of on the western part of the country. So it's Comporta, which is one of the top spots today. And as you can see here, we can put in one same tool that it's fully explorable at the level of the establishment. what you can see is what are the short-term rentals there, what is the hotels that are already installed, what are the ones in yellow that are in process, and what is the spatial plan capacity that is there. So any investor can look at it and understand, am I doing the right direction? Or at the same time, the destination can look at it and say, this is going too big, so I must act in terms of limiting or putting barriers or putting some rules in terms of development of this part. This is a high scale that you can see there mapped, which are the marinas, which are the other maritime structures that are available, and on the right side you can see which are the companies that actually have businesses, maritime or sea businesses installed. So we can understand, and it's easy to understand that the north part of this region is crowded in terms of the number of economic operators that are already there, but this is also a sign for the public sector to manage, and without data it's impossible to manage. The second point is to other and to new entrepreneurs that want to go there. They can understand how crowded, how is the competition already in my decision-making process. A bit of a lessons, and this is my last slide to say, and for you guys that are setting up a monitoring center, data is the easiest way. It doesn't look like in this part of the process, but it's the easiest way, because data you can produce, you can put a law to have that kind of data, you can bring academics and bring data tools for doing it. That's the easy part. The second part, because this is mindset and investment. For the second part, which is more, let's analyze, let's think, like the Secretary General was talking about. Here you need to have skills, and your teams have to have skills. If you move to insights, so advising people on what caused that kind of movement and that kind of performance in the destination requires more skills. Also curiosity as a skill. We are now in phase in Portugal that we're moving to predictive. We're trying to understand what's going to be the future based on the future demand and the future trends to the country and what's going to happen. And that requires even more skills and a bit of creativity from the data guys to understand the business as a whole. Finally, what our aim and our ultimate goal is to be prescriptive, is to advise municipalities, government, entrepreneurs to say, here is not the good point to invest more, here should be the potential area for you to develop your process. So by the end, what is for me the most critical part of this is people. And by people, you mean the team that is going to develop it. They have to be focused. We have to be inspired by a goal, and our goal is to become one of the most sustainable and competitive destinations in the world. But at the same time, you have to listen to the users. You have to listen to the private sector. You have to listen to the local and regional level to understand, are they able to look at your data and make the right decisions? And that's a bit what the roadmap of development that we want to achieve is, how do we can prepare and train the people to actually look at data and take the right decisions. So everything from my side, thank you very much. This is my contact. Feel free to interact. Feel free to go for Travel BI and explore it and give us also your feedback. Happy to help. And once again, ready to support also Greece in this very important measure and initiative. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed. It was what we saw was completely, very impressive. Very impressive, and I'm sure that we'll have your contact details because we need your cooperation. And I have plenty of questions to ask you, but I would like to, maybe if we have a little bit time later to do it and don't spoil the flow. So, then, we have Ms. Theocharous. Hi, Olga, how are you? Can you hear us?
Hello. Good
Hi,
morning. Good afternoon.
Hi, Olga. Actually, it's the first time we are not.
Nice to see you.
Yes, it's the first time we are not together in a, international event, so it's a little bit, difficult for us.
Actually have a change messages with Sergio, and I honestly, I wish I was there with you.
Perfect. So, Olga, your turn. What's your approach regarding all the topics, all the things we are talking about, and what is your actually the social, economic, environmental sustainability efforts you are doing so far?
Okay, my approach would be a bit different to Sergio's, and it's always, a bit difficult to compete with Sergio's. He gives all these holistic and tangible and supported with figures, and it's always very difficult to compete with him. Anyways. First of all, I would like to thank you for the invitation and for giving us the opportunity to present our case and participate in this panel discussion. Okay, next slide. I think Constantina is going, okay. From what you can see on this slide, we consider Cyprus as a coastal destination as a whole because of the small size of the island, the short distance in between the coastal line and the hinterland, and the importance of tourism sector in our economy. So when we talk about tourism in our country, we mainly mean the coastal and maritime tourism. Next one. Okay, now, facts and tourism responses indicate that the main challenges regarding the sustainability of the Cyprus coastal and maritime tourism in our case are the following. Cyprus is an island with limited resources, which puts in danger the sustainability side of the country. 95% of tourism visitors arrive in Cyprus by air. Travelers want to feel that despite the high carbon footprint during their travels, that they are at least visiting a destination which has an environmental consciousness all the time in everywhere. Seasonality is a problem relates to the development of an imbalanced annual tourism arrival pattern and sometimes over tourism. Over tourism is another problem in coastal, especially found in coastal areas, and it's usually decreasing the quality of life of local communities and tourists, degrading tourist experience, overloading infrastructure, damaging nature, causing threats to cultural and social heritage. The key challenges regarding the sustainability of the Cyprus coastal and maritime tourism is, of course, the fact that our tourism development model has been sun and sea model over the years, which is causing a concentration of around 80 to 85% of our tourist infrastructure supply, including not only the accommodation sector, but also the development and the supply of special interest products, and they are mainly found in the coastal areas. There is over-dependence on tour operators. There is the phenomenon of over land use and land coverage is very common in the island. There is a high consumption of natural, economic, and human resources in the island. There is a high ecological footprint, as I mentioned before, and there is a low satisfaction among the local communities due to low attractiveness of the tourist areas. So what we do and what are the potential solutions, actions, or tools to address these challenges? First of all, in our case, is our national tourism strategy, which has been our torch towards sustainability for the last 5 years. The vision of our national tourism strategy is to develop Cyprus tourism in a sustainable way, which positively impacts our economy, our society, and the environment. From what you can see in the slide, our role goes beyond increasing the number of arrivals. Our role is to develop the destination as a whole, to manage it in a sustainable way through a holistic approach to tourism. Within the framework of the National Tourism Strategy, a concrete action plan was also prepared in which specific actions were included to address the aforesaid challenges. First, actions to address the sun and sea and the incentive tourism challenges. We are constantly reviewing the product profile and product mix of the destination. For example, we are proceeding with the product differentiation or product adaptation changes in order to respond to the changing needs of the travelers. We are updating, developing new digital environmentally friendly coastal products, which also it's a new trend and it's much required by the travelers. We aim to maintain the high number of awarded beaches and marinas in Cyprus with a Blue Flag Award. We have something like 70 awarded beaches and 2 marinas in 2023. And we are maintaining a good quality of cleanliness of the seawaters in Cyprus. In 2021, Cyprus seawaters received first prize of the cleanliness of the most clean water in Europe. We are also continuing the beach improvement scheme in order to improve our beaches and make them more sustainable. Finally, special attention and emphasis is given on the development of diving tourism in Cyprus, with the development of artificial reefs, sinking boats, and of course regulating the diving professionals. With regards to over-tourism, we have put in place over-tourism indicators and KPIs. This is part of the deliverables of the strategic environmental assessment and carrying capacity assessment studies, which have been recently been commissioned by the ministry. Actually, the strategic environmental assessment study, it's a European rule, and it's a mandatory study that every country has to commit after the completion of its national tourism strategy. After the preparation of these studies, we have resulted with a number of 25 KPIs, which many of them are going to be used to measure over-tourism in Cyprus. Some of them are related to the land use and land coverage, the beach load, the waste, the water consumption. And we are also using destination management approaches and policies, such as district, rural, and mountainous area strategic development plans in order to manage over-tourism. Now, regarding tourism accessibility to the destination, this is very vital for us because, as already seen, Cyprus is practically accessible only by plane. So we are trying to establish good connectivity of the island with our source tourist markets in association with airline operators, mainly in order to reduce our dependence from the tour operators. We are also trying to maintain good connectivity with major European and other destinations for the prosperity of our local population, not only the tourists, as well as attracting new markets. Special emphasis is also given to attract and maintain flights year-round to secure year-round connectivity to address the seasonality problem, and to have direct flights to reduce carbon footprint. Research has shown that environmentally conscious travelers like to travel with no stops with a direct flight because this reduces the carbon footprint. So it's something that is in our activity. About sustainable coastal and maritime development, specific and strict legal framework is employed in the island, like the Maritime Special Planning and other related issues law, which is going to be placed soon. and will take into account the promotion of sustainable development at sea. This law is supported by downtown planning and zoning planning, the rural area development policies, and the protected area policies. All these legislations are put in place, and they can secure in a very high percentage sustainable coastal and maritime development in the island. Lastly, we aim at stimulating tourism development in the rural and mountainous area of the island in order to generate tourism flow to these areas, to create economic activity and jobs for all local population, to protect and promote cultural heritage in the island. This is one of our main priorities in our strategy in order to redirect tourism flows or tourism arrivals to the hinterland in order to avoid or address over-tourism, as well as a way of addressing seasonality problem, because with the development of special interest products in the hinterland, in the rural and mountains area of Cyprus, we found that travelers tend to travel in Cyprus during the shoulder months or even in the winter months to enjoy these products. The development of the rural and mountainous areas supported by the implementation of support schemes based on national and European funds and other activities. We aim to improve the infrastructure and to enhance the special interest tourism, to improve and upgrade the accommodation and catering sectors, and for the conservation of traditional buildings and aesthetic improvements in order to highlight and promote the cultural heritage and environmental wealth of the area. We are also developing tourist thematic routes and itineraries in that area so as to give the visitors something to do and spend some time and enjoy their stay in the area. We have developed the Heartland of Legends, a Cyprus authentic route, which very much depends on all aspects of sustainability. It brings together a huge number of authentic and diverse products and experiences in the area, and it aims to promote the rural and mountainous area under a common brand name. And we certified a number of designated thematic sustainable labels, like the Cyprus Breakfast, the Taste, the Colorful Villages, the Nature Trails, the Wine Routes, the Historic Hotels. Okay. This is all what we do at the moment in order to confront the key challenges regarding the sustainability of the Cyprus coastal and maritime. Time will show how successful these are going to be and how our efforts will be successful. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Olga. Keep up the good work, okay, and be together to, to exchange, all the things we are doing together and expertise. Thank you very much indeed. And then, Mrs. Green, okay, it's your turn actually. Clea, actually, it's one of the main stakeholders of what we are talking today, because actually it's a key player to this maritime and sea tourism. And the thing is that, except for the initiative that it takes. What is interesting that they have the technical capability regarding data and KPIs in order to be the people, okay, the organization which is in more innovative and more, let's say, pioneers in what we are doing and what we are talking today. So, Ms. Green, the floor is yours.
Is that, oh, yeah, that's it. Thank you very much. And I'm hoping that I have, oh, here we go. Yes. So thank you very much for inviting Claire to join this conversation about this important initiative. I'm delighted to be with you. Claire represents 95% of the world's ocean-going cruise lines, but we're also part of a community, a wider cruise community that involves ports, tour operators, businesses and shipyards, and together, Claire, we have a vision, and its vision here is for the cruise industry to be recognised as a leader in responsible travel and the best way to experience the world sustainably. So I'm going to share a few numbers. Data is important because data tells a story, and data can tell sometimes a surprising story. As you see in the column on the left there, in fact, in terms of the cruise ratio, percentage of cruise ships as part of the overall shipping, global shipping, in fact, we're less than 1%. Of the many tens of thousands of ships, there are 300 cruise ships in the world, and sometimes that surprises people because we're more visible and we understand that, we get more attention. And who are we in terms of the workforce? We're a global workforce, and we're a very inclusive and diverse workforce. And there's here you see 94% of women working in maritime work in cruise. We're also very diverse in terms of nationalities. On some of the larger ships, you can have on average around 60 nationalities working on one ship, and that's something to be celebrated, I think. And where do we go? Here on the map, you'll see that the largest destination market is the Caribbean. And second, clearly, it is Europe, and particularly the Mediterranean. And with that presence, we know there comes responsibilities. So this is how we are addressing our responsibilities. We have 3 pillars of action for our approach to sustainable cruising. Our first pillar on the left, reducing the carbon footprint of ships, both while they're at port and at sea. And we have a global vision to reduce net zero emissions by 2050. Second pillar is about investing in our advanced environmental technologies and innovations on board, the hotel operations, if you like. And thirdly, is the pillar about partnering with our destinations to make sure that we're addressing and listening and talking together about responsible tourism and tourism management. So I'm going to touch on each of these and how we're addressing each. So in terms of the ship, when it's at port, we're investing across our fleets, the cruise line member fleets, to be able to equip the ships to connect and plug into electricity when they're inshore. Almost half of the world's fleet is now able to do so, and this means that the ships can switch their engines off and virtually eliminate emissions while they're at shore, which is incredibly important. Then moving there, we have on board, we have efficiency. This is obviously, as everyone here will know, this is the cleanest energy you can have, is the energy you don't use. And the fleet today is the most efficient fleet in history. In fact, each class of ship is improving its efficiency by about 20%. And so this is continuing to improve the efficiency. And some ships now even use AI to understand exactly the data on the ships, even down to the energy used in the galley, as well as having optimum itineraries for efficiency. And then, of course, if we want to make the transformation needed in terms of our carbon footprint, it's all about the fuels. And a couple of things here. So there are more ships now that are using fossil LNG. There are some immediate benefits from fossil energy, but it is a transitional fuel. It allows the ships to become able to use when we have green bio-LNG, synthetic LNG for the future. And of course, many ships, many cruise lines are also investing in various pilot projects to test, because they're not one size fits all. It will be a hybrid solutions. We're looking at various solutions such as methanol and other examples and pilots such as using hydrogen-based fuel cells, which may not be able to power the whole ship during their voyages, but they will be able to at least power the hotel operations, perhaps, for example. So it's already having positive impacts. The second pillar I talked about was the innovations on board and the hotel operations. And in many ways, cruise lines are adopting circular economy principles at scale. They're basically, some of the almost, 100% of ships on order now have advanced wastewater treatment systems, which in many cases is more advanced than onshore facilities. They're using the recycling and reuse, and which starts before even going on board in terms of understanding to have it as little as possible, and then where it is recycled, it's glass crushing systems on board, for example, and then anything that does need to be recycled is taken off to recycling facilities on shore. And the third, again, another piece of data which sometimes is surprising to people, it certainly was something I hadn't been aware of until recently, is that up to 90% of fresh water can be produced on the ship. So that's really important to make sure there is no use of taking on external sources of water, particularly where water's scarce commodity. So they're just some of the examples on board. And then the third pillar, as I said, is about the dialogue with destinations. And this is just a couple of examples where Clear and its cruise line members have been working very closely to address, because every destination is unique. And we mentioned here, for example, an MOU, long-standing MOU with Dubrovnik, which began around, although we're, again, often just a small representation of tourists to a particular city. For example, I think it was less than 20% of visitors to Dubrovnik. We wanted to be part of the solution. And so we created an MOU with Dubrovnik about making staggering the arrivals because of congestion at the Old Gate, and looking at different routes available, and most recently supporting a Respect the City campaign, which was something driven by the city to help tourists be respectful tourists. A couple of other examples with Corfu and Heraklion, where we had a joint engagement with the ports and the municipalities, and this was with the Global Sustainable Tourism Council to create destination assessments. And again, going back to the data, this was really seen as important to help the cities to understand basically what the situation was now, where the gaps may be, and any priorities for going forward. And it was about an 8-month exercise which involved some research to understand the data, what the policies were in place, for example. And then the second phase, which was extremely crucial, was about local consultation with all the different stakeholders, the tour operators and businesses, everyone who had some interest in the situation. And then the third phase was about the analysis of that. And what that created was a roadmap for the city. So it allows them to create a roadmap for their sustainable future and understand based on the data. So they're just a couple of examples. And really just to end on here, I think the point that's sometimes it's quite an interesting one is the fact that cruise tourism is managed tourism. We know where our guests are going to be, we know how many we will have, and we know when they will be there. And also it's planned in advance. We know people are booking their cruise holidays now for 2026. So that gives us an advantage as a sector of tourism, because we can work with the ports to know in advance exactly what's coming down the pipe, and that allows us to work together in advance and really plan for the future. So really, on that note, I just want to again welcome this new initiative, because I think data and planning are so important to manage to tourism management. So very delighted to be part of this conversation. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. It was very interesting what you mentioned regarding, the cooperation with the locals, and because in Greece we're trying to initiate a new project regarding DMMOs. So it will be good to have an open discussion regarding that, and I will be to extend your project with Heraklion and Corfu with the others participating. So thank you very much indeed. So next we have Miss Flora Leroy, representing another institutional stakeholder. So welcome, first of all. What are the views of the CPMR and its in the Mediterranean Commission on the challenges faced by the maritime and coastal territories?
Thank you very much. I hope that you can hear me well. I would like to thank you. Thank you. Well, good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank you for inviting me to this interesting roundtable, which is taking place alongside the COP28. I have to say that I was very excited when the Greek Ministry of Tourism teams contacted the CPMO Intermediterranean Commission to take part as speaker for such a topic, supporting the sustainability of coastal and maritime tourism, which has been on top of our works and agenda for some time now. So my name is Flora Leroy. I'm a Senior EU Programs Officer representing the Intermediterranean Commission, which gather more than 40 member regions, and which is one of the 6 geographical commissions of the Conference of Peripheral Maritime Regions of Europe, a network of around 150 regions from 24 member states, and campaigning in favor of a more balanced development of European territory. The CPMO General Secretariat focus is on a number of key policy areas, such as the cohesion policy, the accessibility, energy, but also climate as a new working group. And then each geographical commission may focus more on specific issues. And for the Intermediterranean Commission, sustainable coastal and maritime tourism is a crucial matter. Indeed, already some years ago, so back in 2015, and due to the transversality and the importance of tourism for the Mediterranean member regions, the CPMO Intermediterranean Commission set up a dedicated task force dealing with culture and sustainable tourism. And this task force allows the Mediterranean regions to exchange good practices related to sustainable tourism and to coordinate political support for the sustainable development of the sector. As we all know, of course, tourism, like any other human activity, generates impacts on resources, natural ecosystems, society, the economy, and the culture of an area, both in a positive and a negative way. So indeed, despite the economic growth and diversification, the infrastructure development, and the promotion of culture and the art among the positive impacts, Mediterranean coastal and maritime destinations are also experiencing over-tourism, as we mentioned, vulnerability to climate change, seasonality, and dependence on tourism, and the latter impact being particularly high and significant in the islands. So in the recent year, I just wanted to mention that the CPMO Intermediterranean Commission and some of its member regions have developed and tested various solutions to mitigate the negative impacts and improve the sustainability of the sector. So I will share with you some example of past relevant European funded projects. For instance, the Intermediterranean Commission have been involved in a project entitled Arid Data, and which was led by the Tuscany regions, and where the pilots were in Occitanie region, Western Greece, and Valencia, among others. And the objective of this project was to develop an innovative solution to better manage tourism flows, impact on cultural and natural heritage sites through technologies and big data. So in the framework of this project, we have been working on the development of an IT platform to gather all the available information to better plan and manage the tourism flow in the cultural and natural heritage sites. We have been also involved in another project named WinterMed, which was led by the ENCI Toscana. And the pilot sites were Balearic Island, Corsica, Cyprus, South Aegean, among others. And the objective of this project was to promote the transition from the 3S, as you know, sea and sand, tourism of the insular destinations during summer to an alternative sustainable and all year round use of territories. So in the framework of this project, we have been working on the development of a methodology and of a strategy for the development of sustainable tourism around all year round. Then we have been involved in another project named Destimate Plus, which was led by the Lazio region, and the pilots were Catalonia, Andalusia, Sardinia, Corsica, Crete, and South Aegean, among others. And the objective of this project was to promote the integration of tourism and conservation policies and planning at local, regional, and Mediterranean levels for the development of ecotourism in protected areas. So although sustainability is approached from different angles in this project, as you have understood, it should be noted that a key component of the results and of sustainability in tourism in general is, of course, the measurement and monitoring of tourism sustainability with the aim of sharing relevant information with the sector and enabling knowledge-based and smart decision-making. So to this end, I wanted to share a last example. So the CPMO Inter-Mediterranean Commission have been involved with some of its member regions in another territorial cooperation project named BESMED. And we have been working on the development of several tools for this aim. So the first one is the open platform of BESMED, which is an IT tool to measure performance and benchmark cultural routes by monitoring social, economic, and environmental outcomes. We have also been working on info hubs and resource center. The idea was to share general technical and sectoral knowledge related to sustainable tourism data monitoring and management. And finally, we have been working on the development of a Mediterranean network of sustainable tourism observatories, with the idea to bring together the main parties to share ideas, techniques, and tools on data and indicators, and to build multi-level cooperation in order to seek better joint solutions and work in a common direction. So although the list of activities initiated by the Mediterranean region goes on and on, I'm going to stop here for the moment. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Another, very exciting presentation. So, thank you all of you for your insights. Okay, and we finished with the first, let's say, round of the presentations. Now we're going to the second round, and it's about policy making. To foster sustainable tourist development, we need informed policy making at all levels, and the things that the role of all of you, with all the the organization you represent, you have a pivot role. So the question is, how can you contribute to the adoption of sustainable tourism policies, and how you can press your governments, or the other stakeholders, and how you initiate things, creating an ecosystem around all this. And I give the floor to Mrs. Theocharous, as she represents a policy-making organization. So, Olga, what do you think about that? How can we achieve to make reality all this initiative we are talking about today?
Okay, thank you. Actually, bringing together all the tourism ecosystem, bringing them on board with our initiatives has always been a bit of a challenge. You usually tend to, we play like we give them something and wait something in return. It's not an easy way to achieve and to work together on a common goal. On the other hand, on a subject like the one that we are discussing together, in fostering the social, economic, environmental sustainability on the coastal and maritime tourism, we believe that all stakeholders should be on board on these kind of projects. Both private and public sector and local authorities, academic institutions should be on board because they have the knowledge, destination management organizations to make the measurements, local communities, tourists, everyone. So in a whole government's approach, everybody should be on board. Special effort should be made to bring everyone on board. With regards to this specific subject, which is complex, sensitive, and it involves a broad spectrum of competences, that is another reason that everybody should be on board. Everybody has to work within his own area of specialization or area of concern, work hand in hand and complement each other. So in this case, for us, we need what we need to succeed. We need a powerful leader to bring all stakeholders together and work together towards the success of any project, and especially this project that we are meeting together today with all of us. The lead partner should have the general command and leading role, maintaining the horizontal cooperation among the rest of the partners, communicating the goals and the strategic priorities, asking them to participate in the decision making, action planning and implementation of the action plans, updating them, and not only when they require their support or their help with something, but at any time. Make them feel that they are part of the project, of any project, and that they all share a common vision. And I think that this is the way to the success. The lead partner has to be open and willing to share and communicate everything. And this is a way that has been done in our case with our regional tourism development companies. And I think that it's a success story for our case. It's been working for the last 15 years. And that's the way we did it. And for the case that we are here today, are meeting today, I think this is one good way, a good methodology or way to go forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Harus. So then, Mr. Guerrero, I was hearing your presentation, and I was thinking of two policy issues. One is how you manage to gather all this data. It should be something very difficult because there was a great resistance from the participants. And I think the second is that after you processing all this data, how you found the KPIs and all these beautiful things you show us, how you tried to present the policy makers in order to adopt and to change things. So the question is, what is the role of for the industry stakeholders, regional authorities and local communities as well? And more or less tell us about your experience so far.
Okay, perhaps I can take this. Well, thank you very much for the question. And I was listening to Olga, and to be honest, everything starts on the strategy definition. In our case, the strategy was participated by all the stakeholders. We basically run out all over the country to discuss with regional stakeholders, with local stakeholders, with residents also, what were the issues. And then we came up with the strategy, which from our point of view, is a shared vision for the destination. And that is very important, Bok, because we know around the table where do we go. Then there is a second phase of this, which is the role of every player within the strategy. Obviously, we believe that the private sector has a key role in playing that, because they are the ones developing the activities, they are the ones serving and working with visitors, and our role is to support them, and to support them in several areas. On the knowledge side, and I didn't forget your quote on data, but I think on the knowledge side, one of our responsibilities as governments is to raise the awareness for the need of change, because that's one of the most important blocks, is we need to change. So let's assume it and let's do our role. And then after assuming and raising the awareness for the need of transformation, let's bring instruments for people, and we're talking about SMEs, small businesses, and so on. How do they begin the change? It's not going to the end, it's begin. This is a long step. So we've developed several guidelines and roadmaps for small businesses to cope with waste management, with energy efficiency, with all those kind of things were developed by our product development team. So a new company, when jumps in, has practical tools that they can go through and then can adopt. The second block is investment, because it's easy for the government to say, let's transform things, let's do things, but there is no money available. So what we've we've created dedicated lines for the companies to apply to actually make that thing. And having the pandemic was not actually that bad from this perspective. I think it was the only one, but I'm keeping positive, because we stayed together within the pandemic, and that was quite important in terms of building trust between the stakeholders. And they feel that we care for their businesses. And so promoting, investing, and bringing knowledge. That comes to the data, because when we've started this agenda, we need to transform our vision of the destinations. So it's more in terms of quality, less in terms of volume, and that is one issue. And the second one, we understood that data is there to support destinations to actually cope with the challenges. And let's speak truly. If I have a cruise ship arriving in Lisbon, I cannot say that there is no impact. Obviously, there is impact because they arrive at 9 a.m. in the morning in downtown Lisbon. But there is mobile data available to actually show the destination and show the stakeholders that if you split, if you change the routes within tourism visitors within the city, I get less crowded. I know exactly what are the timings that cruise ships arrive there, so I can take measures. So we built, answering your question in a moment, we've built a team that collects, invests, and that's commitment also. So we keep investing since 2015 in creating a system and gathering among us an ecosystem of learning with universities, and in each one of our regions we are setting up observatories. So basically those are the ones translating the data that we gather to the ones that have to take decisions in the last minute, which are regional, but mostly local levels, because those are the ones that need to cope with overcrowding, with waste, with all those issues. So it's a matter of creating a consistent and committed ecosystem to drive, because we also invested, my last quote on this, we also created an innovation ecosystem among this, where we have 300 startups per year working on how to improve visitor mobility, how to improve energy efficiency in hotels and tourism companies. So is orchestrating all this that can lead to a progress. And I think it's progress. It's not the end. It's the journey. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Actually, it's a pleasure to discuss with all of you, because actually Olga mentioned leadership. You gave us a roadmap to change management in destinations, and actually it's let's say all these best practice are very useful to all of us in order to have a roadmap and to little by little to improve our all the strategies and policies. So we are talking about leadership, we are talking about change management, because what you're talking about is change management and the policies. What about governance? And Mrs. Leroy, how important is multi-level and transversal governance? Because actually you have the experience of that due to the fact that you are already run, plenty of projects regarding KPIs and data and all these policies. What's your opinion about governance? How important is it actually?
Thank you very much. Yes, indeed. I would like to stress again the crucial importance of multi-level and cross-cutting governance, because indeed, in order to tackle the multitude of sustainability challenges facing the sector, it is more than necessary that we involve local and regional authorities as frontline pioneers, experimenting with innovative solutions and tackling problems head-on. So if we focus again on the question of measuring and monitoring the sustainability of tourism, it should be noted that monitoring and measuring progress from the subnational level provide us with a unique opportunity to strike a balance between data availability and comparability, while also recognizing the intrinsic value of scaling down to consider local nuances and impacts. That's the whole point of the MED network of sustainable tourism observatories that I just mentioned before. Was collaborative effort aims to bring together the main stakeholders, promoting the exchange of ideas, but also of methodologies and tools related to data and indicators. So its main aim is to establish cooperation at several levels, seeking common solution and aligning efforts in a common direction. So as part of the development of this initiative, and in order also to ensure its sustainability over time, we immediately wanted also to link it to other existing initiatives and strategies. So indeed, I think it's important to highlight that we believe that it is also essential to recognize and align our commitments and leverage our strengths to amplify the impact of existing initiatives and strategies, such as the UNWTO INSTO, the European Commission Tourism Transition Pathway, and the Glasgow Declaration, for example. So indeed, among others, at the European level, we know that the CPMR regions are contributing to the co-construction of the transition pathway for tourism, highlighting that setting goals for a sustainable European tourism ecosystem demands for availability, access, interoperability, integration, and analysis of data related to the current level of sustainability in variety of tourism-related activities. And it demands for the establishment of common key performance indicators for sustainable management of destinations. Also, the CPMR and some of its member regions are also supporting the Glasgow Declaration, which aims to bring together tourism stakeholders from the public and private sector to align sectors' climate ambitions with scientific recommendation and international agreements. And one of those pathways focuses on measuring. Of course, the list does not end here, but we can already see common objectives and several ways of achieving them through the commitment and collaboration of all players involved, including the regions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much indeed. So, Mrs. Green, CLIA is a key industry player. So, what do you feel should be the role for industry stakeholders in managing sustainable tourism development for coastal and maritime tourism? Do you feel the obligation to participate, let's say, actively to what is going on?
Yeah, we'll do that. Thank you. Yes, thank you very much. I think that, in fact, a holistic approach is essential. Collaboration is absolutely necessary. I think that we all have a common goal, and no one can do this on our own. To give a very practical example, I talked earlier about the ships that are being equipped to plug into shoreside electricity. Well, obviously there's a need for ports to do their part as well, and they are having to invest to be able to provide the shoreside electricity. So that's just one very practical example. And in the spirit of that need for collaboration, we were very pleased to have been able to present to you and your government our suggested action plan for working together on sustainable cruise tourism, which really tried to lay out some very practical ways that we could contribute. Just to give a couple of examples. So for example, looking at how we might identify some destinations that may not be so well known in the cruise world. And I know, for example, that Thessaloniki has certainly grown in terms of popularity in cruise. And another example is, so for example, extending the cruise season, but there's an appetite from the cruise lines, but that only works if there's a willingness in the destinations, of course, because it needs to be that facilities may need to be open and at those different times of the year. So just some very practical ways that it just shows that everyone has a part to play, I think, in this.
Thank you very much, all of you. So we just finished the second round of questions and insights. So now we're going to the third one, the last one, and it will be a brief one. So as I told you at the beginning, I would like to elaborate and to speak a little bit more about our initiative, our Monitoring Center for Coastal and Maritime Tourism in Mediterranean region, which is something that we are very proud of that, and we are trying to promote it and to find, you know, some other people that we share the same, let's say, values and to cooperate with. So the Ministry of Tourism of Greece is in the process of establishing a monitoring center of coastal and maritime tourism, the Mediterranean. The UNWTO has strongly supported this initiative, and we have signed an initial MOU. Maybe you already know that thing. At the Ministry, we acknowledge the lack of timely comparable data, the coastal spatial scale and the travel, as well as lack of coordination between different tools. Yes, there's a big problem with, you know, to gather and to find the data, to combine them, and all this process I described before. And for that reason, the goals of the Monitoring Center are to develop a coherent methodological framework for measuring sustainability in coastal and maritime tourism. Just we need the framework, we need the KPIs, we need to change it, to use all the new technology in order to have insight and to share it with all of the partners we have, the internal and external, and to export, let's say, best practices to other members or UNWTO, because actually, as far as I know, they have exactly the same problems, and they are trying to share knowledge and best practices. It's the first thing. And the second is to provide relevant, timely, and reliable data on a regular basis to support informed decision-making in the sector. It's what you described before. We have it more or less, but it's very, let's say, scattered around, and we don't have any central, let's say, governance of that thing in order to have all the best, let's say, results. So, so far several Mediterranean countries, and not only, like Portugal, have expressed their interest to join in and support the monitoring center. Okay, not only to take, let's say, expertise, but to give expertise. It's what I heard today. And it's a great opportunity for us today to have your views on what would be the role addressing the challenges and opportunities associated with the social, economic, and environmental sustainability. So, Mrs. Green, clear? He has already expressed the interest in this project, so we'll be, you know, together, you know, the coming period. So the first is yours. The floor is yours in order to express what you are thinking of this initiative and why you think it could be a best practice to cooperate with you.
Thank you. Yes, and we're very pleased to be welcoming this initiative, as I say. I think that, as I've said earlier, data is incredibly important. We at CLEAR, we do research, and we do have some data. So we know, for example, we have a lot of data at global level, at European level. At national level, we know, for example, that the cruise industry contributes more than 1 billion euros to the Greek economy. There's 15,000 jobs supported, but where there are gaps is actually at the local level, interestingly, and that we're a tourism cruise and tourism is a global industry, but we have local impacts. And so it's incredibly important to have that local data. We are looking ourselves also talking to Port of Mykonos, for example. We want to do some research that helps identify that, but really that's something where this is extremely welcome to be able to have some data together. And I think the other point I'd make is that it will be very important to have consistency and data over time so that we can understand trends going forward as well. But as I say, really congratulate this initiative, and we're really looking forward to supporting the aims of it. Thank you.
We are talking already about how we could cooperate to this project. So, Ms. Theoharos, Olga, what do you think that is, do you feel there is a need for the monitoring center, and how can we cooperate with you, not because you are Cyprus and we'll cooperate, but because you think that there is the need to have this kind of initiative active in Cyprus?
Well, thank you. Cyprus has already expressed its interest when in 2021 was first announced in our commission meeting in Athens. Our former deputy minister undersigned the announcement. So it's something that is very much in line with our strategy. As I said in my presentation, we are trying to address the over-tourism challenge, and we are putting in place a number of indicators and KPIs based on our environmental assessment study and carrying capacity study that we have performed a year ago. Maybe that will give you, because it's a holistic study based on the national tourism strategy of Cyprus, which, as I've already said, it resulted with a number of indicators which we could share with you. And our study also includes suggestions on how to collect these KPIs, how you set up baselines, because for most of them there is no available data, and before arriving to setting up targets for each KPI, you have to set your baselines. So the whole process is included in our studies, and it's something that we'll be more than happy to share with you and adjust it according to the general interest of Greece or any other countries that will be on board on this initiative. Well, the reason that as already said in my presentation, Cyprus is a small island, very vulnerable. We are running out of the use of our resources. So to manage and read the results of tourism development, to make new strategies, to adjust our strategy according to how we do or how we go with respect to the social, environmental, and economical side of sustainability is very much of our concern. We need to change our strategy mind setting. We have to gather information and plan accordingly. So we believe that not only if you are willing or if you find valuable what you already have, and as I said, we can share it with you, it will be very much of our gain. If we join you, we'll be able to find a way of addressing many sensitive issues with regards to the development, tourism development of our island. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Olga. So, Sergio, your organization has for some time now been very actively involved in collecting, analyzing data and policy making. How do you envision all this initiative, an umbrella initiative, where all the best practices will be together and all these, experts will be together in countries? How you envision? We are more experienced here in that field, so it will be very good to know what actually it would be your inspiring, vision of that.
Thank you. Well, not being part of it doesn't mean that we cannot contribute. So happy to share the things that we've done well and the mistakes that we've done, because there is no journey without mistakes, and we've made something. And if that avoids others to do the same mistake, great. So happy to collaborate. First of all, on building a network, I think most of the time we're thinking about how the amounts of data that we can collect, but this is a matter of people. I'm a truly believer of networks. And by starting a process that you collect and you build a community that has the same interest, that's your first advantage. Celebrate it. Because you have then a series of people from all over the countries dealing with the same issues, and that network can help you to understand what is Cyprus doing okay. Olga, could you please help me? I'm having this problem, you already dealt with it. How have you done it? What was the key elements of that? And that is a very important block. At the European Travel Commission, we have a network of this, and it's really perfect, because we connect people and we connect experiences. That's one thing that you need to build. So consistency on the people that you put in your network is quite important, because then you have actually broke the institutional frameworks, and that became to be active. The second one is agree on what you're measuring. Don't try, believe me, my mistake, don't try to measure everything at the same time. It's not gonna happen. So build a roadmap and agree on a roadmap that everyone is actually doing, because with that you see also results. Because this is not a 1 year, 2 year. It's not. It must be a long commitment, and for that you need also to have goals, because otherwise government will say, I'm spending enough money on that, but I don't see results. So also be part of that. You have to deliver. The stakeholders will ask you to deliver. The residents will ask you to deliver. So build a concrete roadmap, and find moments. Believe me, I failed there in the beginning, which is find moments to gather your community and to discuss things. Let's discuss seasonality. What is working? What is not working? What should we do? What should the government do in terms of supporting that issue? What should the local government do regarding that? I think it's a very important piece that you need to put on place, is how to make that network effective in terms of addressing each stakeholder issue. Because each stakeholder has their own interests, and if you're part of a community, you can understand others' interests and make a match, because it's not possible to have all interests of all people satisfied. It's not. So that's why we need to build that, and I think it's an excellent initiative. Congratulations on that. Happy to share, but also happy to learn, because we're not Mediterranean. We're almost Mediterranean, but we have similar issues. We are a coastal destination. We have islands. We have a lot of things in common that we can also learn, because problems are still there to solve in most of the cases. So happy to be part of the network, even not being in the first initial stake.
Thank you very much, Sergio. So, Ms. Leroy, what should be the aim of the Monitoring Center? What do you think should be?
Thank you. Well, I believe that, again, the monitoring center, as mentioned by my colleagues, is of utmost relevance today, because I would like, again, to reiterate the importance of monitoring and measuring the impact on tourism, of tourism on maritime and coastal regions. Indeed, we know that this process is not only a static effort, but an ongoing dynamic initiative that allows us to continually review, adapt, and when necessary, revise our plans of actions. So with sustainability increasingly seen as a cornerstone of tourism development, it is becoming imperative to measure and the impact of tourism. And therefore, we believe that, again, the monitoring center you want to develop is particularly relevant. Well, while the Monitoring Center for Coastal and Maritime Tourism in the Mediterranean has the potential to act as a unifying force, promoting a global understanding of the impact of tourism, we also believe that, of course, it should work in coordination and complementarity with the main European maritime players, such as our network, for instance, but also establishing links and synergies with all the relevant players and initiatives, and also projects such as the Intergovernment Mission for Tourism, as you might know. And of course, finally, I wanted to stress again that by working together and aligning our efforts, I think that we can contribute to the sustainable development of tourism, ensuring an harmonious balance between growth and preservation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, somewhere here is the end. Thank you for a very constructive sharing of projects, thoughts on the sustainable development of coastal and maritime tourism. Thank you very much, all of you, our hybrid participants, digital participants, and our physical ones. Just to remind you that the Ministry of Tourism, we feel that the meaningful discussion between all partners of the tourism ecosystem can guide our steps. That for that reason we initiate this kind of gatherings. Toward inclusive and sustainable growth to the benefit of the industry and of coastal and communities alike. Thank you very much indeed, and hopefully now it's the beginning, not the end, and we'll have a closer cooperation, and you will have the opportunity to contribute to our initiative, and we'll contribute to your initiatives as well. Thank you very much indeed, all of you. Hello, everybody, distinguished guests. I have the honor to welcome you all here today at the Greek Pavilion in COP28 to a roundtable organized by the Ministry of Tourism of Greece to discuss on supporting the sustainability of coastal and maritime tourism. This is the second panel for the day. The first one focused on the policy approach to sustainable tourism development at the coastal scale and gathered around representatives from Mediterranean countries, international organizations, and industry stakeholders. And now this is the second one. We will now attempt to highlight the point of view of the research community. It's something that's very important for us in order to be aligned with all this research work that are made by research centers and all these bodies. Let me introduce the panelists. First of all, Mrs. Zinka Marusic, Institute for Tourism Research, Croatia. Mrs. Zinka will be joining us online. Thank you very much indeed for the participation.
Hello.
Mr. Michel Colovito, Senior Project Manager at the Union for the Mediterranean. Welcome. Please take your seat. Mr. Adonios Magoulas, President of the Hellenic Center for Marine Research, based in Crete. Welcome, Mr. Magoulas. Mr. George Partasidis, Trade Consultant at Cyprus Trader Center in the United Arab Emirates. So, we'll join after? Okay, thank you very much. So, it's now my pleasure to give over the floor to my lovely colleague, Dr. Panagiota Dionysopoulou, Director General for the Tourism Policy at the Ministry of Tourism, who will moderate the panel. So, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary General for Tourism Policy and Development. May I present some points of the policy of the Ministry of Tourism? Please, if you would like to have my presentation. It's okay? Okay. The Ministry of Tourism of Greece is actively engaged in enhancing a sustainable tourism development at the national, regional, and local level. Let me briefly present our strategy and main initiatives to support this task. So, the Ministry has adopted National Pact for Sustainable Tourism 2030. Its main objectives are to promote Greece as a sustainable tourism destination, integrate tourism into the government's overall plan for sustainable development, and create a sustainable culture in the tourism sector. A basic pillar of policy making towards sustainability is gathering solid, reliable, and timely data to monitor the tourism ecosystem. This is a necessity acknowledged in the agenda of international and national tourism bodies. During the past years, at the Ministry of Tourism, we have consistently strived to elaborate a data strategy, and to this end, we have supported several efforts towards measuring. Therefore, we aim to operate the National Observatory for Sustainable Tourism Development till the end of 2025. A set of core indicators, social, environmental, economic, and their respective data providers have already been identified. The project is funded by RRP, and the key outcomes are the publication of the annual Tourism Sustainability Report at national level. A digital platform and site will be created at the Ministry's website displaying the sustainable tourism indicators at national level, and training of the personnel involved to make sure the project remains sustainable and functional. At EU level, the European data strategy aims to establish convenient access to a vast amount of high-quality data, fostering growth and value creation, all while minimizing the environmental impact. The European Commission plans to invest in common European data space for tourism. Within this framework, the European Commission has approved the DATES project, whose primary goal is to explore methods for establishing a secure and reliable tourism data space. The Ministry of Tourism is part of the project's interministerial advisory committee. The general aim of the project is to provide a shared roadmap to coordinate tourism ecosystem stakeholders and connect EU-level data ecosystems with interconnected data spaces in other sectors. As data sharing among policymakers, citizens, and entrepreneurs constitutes one of the key priorities of our strategy, the Ministry of Tourism has become an info hub for tourism and travel data. We have built a microsite linked at the central website of the Ministry, displaying travel data from official data stakeholders. The data refer to both national and regional level and are presented through GIS. Our main objective was to tackle data fragmentation and to have one central data repository. In collaboration with the UNWTO, we are in the process of establishing a monitoring center for coastal and maritime tourism in the Mediterranean, situated in Greece. Our goals are to develop a coherent methodological framework for measuring sustainability in coastal and maritime tourism, to provide relevant, timely, and reliable data on a regular basis, and to support informed policy. Who can participate? In this framework, the Ministry of Tourism of Greece has signed a memorandum of understanding with the UNWTO in the event of 66th meeting of the UNWTO Commission for Europe. A letter of intent has been sent out to other Mediterranean countries to cooperate. Discussions are ongoing. Academia will also play a vital and crucial role. A central part of our efforts is to involve industry stakeholders and business associations. They are the ones that have the data and would benefit the most from collecting and sharing data to make informed decisions. So, you can see in the slide our steps so far. Concerning governance, we have quite recently established by law the monitoring center within the ministry's organizational structure. Developing the network. A letter of intent was sent by our Minister of Tourism of Greece to other Med countries to invite them to join our efforts. Positive replies were received up to now from Spain, Israel, Malta, Montenegro, Morocco, Egypt, Algeria, Croatia, Cyprus. Our next steps are to provide funding the elaboration of a methodological framework for monitoring coastal and maritime tourism, to implement pilot studies to fine-tune the methodological standard, to diffuse the project, and to plan and create the platform of the monitoring center to gather, analyze, report, and diffuse data. Thank you for your interest. So, do you hear me? Okay, thank you. Okay, let me now give over the floor to our panelists to present their thoughts on the sustainable development of coastal and maritime tourism. What are the key challenges to measuring the sustainable development of coastal and maritime tourism? Let me start by you, Zrinka. What is your organizational approach? Please.
Hello. Hello. Nice regards to everybody. Thank you very much for inviting me to this panel, and warm regards to everybody, to all of you, and to the audience from Zagreb, Croatia. As we are, I will have first presentation, and then we can discuss later on by questions. So as we are a Mediterranean country with very long and beautiful coast on the Adriatic Sea, on the east side of the Adriatic Sea, with a lot of islands, our tourism is mostly coastal and maritime. So when I'm talking about tourism, I'm usually thinking about coastal and maritime tourism. So in this introductory part, I will share with you activities we are doing in Croatia in cooperation with our Ministry of Tourism and Sports and Croatian National Tourism Board in order to measure and monitor the sustainability of tourism in our country. Also, I will finish with some challenges and issues that we can discuss later on. So let me first introduce our institute to you. Please, next slide, please. So we are a pretty old institute, the oldest tourism research institute in this part of Europe, and next year we will celebrate our 65th anniversary. We are a team of 20-something researchers. We are not so old researchers, much younger, and we are coming from different disciplines, from economy, both macro and micro and environmental, geography, transport, ecology, social sciences, math, stats, etc. Next slide, please. Today, I would like to focus on the three groups of all of our activities that make somehow three pillars of the whole process of measuring the sustainability of tourism in Croatia. I will also try to illustrate how we put some kind of umbrella on these three pillars. Next slide, please. So the first pillar is our tourism research as the base for the measurement process. I will today stress here on demand side research. So we have been conducting the Thomas Visitor Survey from 1987, again with the support of our ministry and NTO. Our visitor survey is an analytical tool for tourism management, for product development, for promotion, demand segmentation, but it also gives us a tool for detecting trends in tourism demand, but also it gives us some base indicators for measuring the tourism sustainability from the demand side. What is also very important, since tourism activity is changing pretty fast, we are adjusting our research according to the needs of measuring tourism sustainability. So just to mention, one of our surveys is Thomas Nautica survey that is focused on yachting tourists, those on owned yachts and charter yachts. As you may know, Croatia is well known by a really big charter float, and it is well-known charter destination, one of the most well-known in the world. So last year, we conducted a survey on a sample of 2,500 respondents on yachts and chartered yachts. And in addition, we asked also 500 respondents on this small cruise ship. So this is the cruising within the Croatian waters, which is also one of our famous tourism products. So this is one pillar, that is the tourism research. Next slide, please. Regarding the next pillar, the second pillar is our macroeconomic analysis. We have been conducting the TSA, Tourism Satellite Accounts, since 2005. The compilation is completely based on the UNWTO methodology, and by compiling TSA, we have the basic economic indicators internationally harmonized. Next slide, please. So now, still on the macroeconomic level, we are currently in the process of the integration of the two satellite accounts that describe really different worlds. From one side, we have TSA, and we are now extending it with the 4 environmental accounts and the model for social indicators. So this approach is based on the UNWTO new statistical framework for measuring the sustainability of tourism. And we are calling it Tourism Sustainability Satellite Accounts. It incorporates both sides, economic and environmental. So the whole process should result with a set of indicators of tourism sustainability on country and region level. Since we are doing TSA, both TSA and environmental accounts on the level of our NUTS 2 and NUTS 3 regions. Next slide, please. So these were two pillars. So we have research, then we have macroeconomic analysis extended with the environmental accounts. And the third pillar is our CROSTO observatory. We are a member of UNWTO network of sustainable tourism observatories from 2016. We base our measurement process on mostly on ATIS indicators. We have a basic set of 17 ATIS indicators, and we are extending it by the needs of destinations. So when we have started, we started as an observatory for NUTS 2 region Adriatic Croatia. But now we have in our CROSTO observatory about 20-something coastal destinations in the whole CROSTO family that are measuring tourism sustainability at the local level. Next slide, please. So I would say CROSTO is maybe more than just a tool for measuring the sustainability. It is also a tool for awareness raising on the need to monitor and to measure. But also it is a tool to improve and strengthen the local knowledge on the measurement process. And we heard today that that we do need knowledge how to measure tourism at the local level. In that sense, our institute provides the community with a tool for this measurement. So these three pillars are somehow encircling from the macroeconomic point of view, from the tourism research point of view, and from the local destination point of view in measuring tourism sustainability. Next slide, please. A very important recent step in the establishment of a complete system for monitoring the sustainability of tourism in Croatia is a strong support that we got from the policy point of view. So there is a strong commitment to monitor and support the sustainable tourism through the framework for data collection. So systematic data collection on tourism sustainability will be included into the legislative framework from next year. So in 20 or so days, we will have in our law on the level of destinations need to measure and monitor development of tourism sustainability. So we think it is a really important step in our decision to go towards more sustainable tourism. Next step, please. Of course, in this process, not only now, but as we have started with it, we are facing various challenges. First of all, this is data availability, or maybe better to say data non-availability. But we do hope that our new legislation will really help us in this process of new data collection. Of course, that we have pretty developed national statistics through the National Statistical Office, but still there are a lot of gaps, especially when we come to some specific product developments, such as nautical tourism, both yachting and small ship cruising. Also, some of the specificity of Croatian tourism is that we have more than half of our accommodation within family-owned accommodation. So from the point of view of data collection, this is a completely different approach than when you have industry in front of you. Next slide, please. So in order to partly solve these gaps, our ministry, with the support of our institute, developed a broad research agenda on collecting data for measuring the environmental impact of tourism. So we defined a really broad research agenda. I will not go through the whole now, but just to mention, for example, this nautical tourism. We plan, or we already did something. So there are 3 primary surveys that have been implemented, focusing on the environmental impact of nautical tourism. So this is, first one is from the perspective of mooring service providers, so from the supply side. Then we have from the demand side, we plan in-depth interviews with the skippers and small cruise ship captains in order to catch some standards of environmental impact. For example, to establish standards of fuel consumption, standards for solid waste production, etc. At least for the beginning, at least for the start. And the third survey is survey on fuel consumption from the point of view of the supply again. So we are interviewing all petrol stations along the coast, try to estimate the total fuel consumption for the nautical tourism. Next slide, please. So I would say that a lot of work is in front of us, and I'm really looking forward to further discussion, to your questions, and also to the discussion with the audience. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Zringa. Thank you. Your experience as a researcher give us the chance to have a fruitful cooperation. And the implementation of TSSA in macro level, I suppose that focuses on environmental issues. And this is very important. Also, the implementation of the monitoring of coastal and maritime tourism will be very important in our cooperation in order to provide the dimensions of the methodological approach. So, thank you. Thank you. Mr. Colavito, yeah. Michel, please share with us the approach of the Union for the Mediterranean.
Thank you very much. Well, I'm pretty sure every time that Greece organizes or promotes something that I'm in good hands, but this time was very inspiring. This event because many inputs were provided by my colleagues, and I'm sure that this could be a sort of first step. For a path to do together in the framework of the center, maybe, which is a very good initiative. But maybe we have time to discuss about it later on during this panel. I just would like to. Well, I'm here first of all as UFM, Union for the Mediterranean. So I just would like to share with you what the Union for the Mediterranean is doing in tourism. First of all, introducing this organization for those who still don't know it. It is an international organization established in 2008, and it's an intergovernmental Euro-Mediterranean organization which groups together 43 countries, both of the North Shore and of the South Shore. So it is the main, let's say, environment that promotes cooperation among the two shores. That's why each time there is an initiative like the Center for Monitoring of Coastal and Maritime Tourism promoted in Greece, we welcome it because it goes in the sense of developing cooperation among the two shores of the Mediterranean, which is, the key for the successful identification of initiatives to promote sustainable development in all the Mediterranean region, and in this case, of course, focusing on tourism. This is, the path undertaken by the UFM. What I would like to stress today is the tools that UFM adopted to promote initiatives, which are the ministerial declaration. In this case, the ministerial declaration that are very important for us in terms of contribution to the support and development of sustainable tourism in the Mediterranean are both the one on environment and climate change and the one on sustainable blue economy. The path undertaken in the framework of these two ministerial declarations, which are a political tools but with concrete initiatives promoted, started from 2014, and the last two, the second ministerial declaration on the two topics, environment and sustainable economy, have been signed in 2021, so in the full period of the pandemic. And in this case, for the first time, tourism was analyzed and was considered as part of the policies promoted in environment and the sustainable economy. What are the steps that followed these two ministerial declarations? In the 2021, we promoted the preparation of an handbook with some concrete tools and approaches to be adopted to allow all the countries, all the territories in the Mediterranean region to recover after the pandemic. This was a very concrete result, first of all, because it is the result of a collaboration among different stakeholders. So we went out of the burden of the let's say, ministerial collaboration, which is important and which is still important. And we involved for all the Mediterranean region many stakeholders in terms of project partners, in terms of local institutions, in terms of main stakeholders. And we identified a lot of measures that could be adopted in each country to recover tourism, because we know we started from the awareness that in all the Mediterranean region, tourism is one of the most vulnerable economic sectors. So we need to learn from the experience gained during the pandemic that we need to structurally recover tourism and to give tourism all the measures to strengthen itself and to be the real engine to develop our territories. These are, let's say, the main suggestions reported in the handbook. We identify some suggestions according to the level of the policies to be promoted and the initiative to be promoted. So the international one, the national, regional and local level, and the technical level. What is important, in my opinion, even according to the following development of the topic, that we need to focus on some of the main topics that even in the framework of the policies promoted at European level, that we need to focus first of all on the so-called twin transition. So we need to identify those initiatives that are coherent with the digital and the innovation and the green transition. But we need to focus also on the social innovation. Many times other colleagues today mentioned the importance of the involvement of the local communities in the development process related to tourism. We need to focus on them, and I think that putting together all the level of governance in each country and in all the Mediterranean region, so the national one, the regional one, the local one, we could adopt really concretely important measures to recover and to sustain, to support coastal and maritime tourism. And I would like also to stress on the fact that, as mentioned, for example, by Cyprus this morning, that of course today we are focusing on coastal and maritime tourism, which is the key economic sector for all our countries. I come from Italy, so I perfectly know how important is tourism in terms of coastal and maritime environment. But we need to put this sector in the condition to be also the engine to promote the development also of the internal areas, of the mountain region, for example. So this could be the driver to develop the entire territories of our countries. The key issue, in my opinion, and it was also reminded by Mr. Guerrero in the first panel, that we need to focus a lot on skills, which means not only skills at technical levels of the operators, etc., but skills also of those who promote policy, so the skills of policymakers, because they create the good condition to develop coastal and maritime tourism. Just one last thing concerning the Center for Monitoring the Coastal and Maritime Tourism. We will develop it later on during this panel. I think that and we also listened about that in the first panel. Everything was already said, in my opinion, so everything is well known. There are all the strategic framework agreed at every level, international, European, national, etc. We need to put together all this information in order to develop coastal and maritime tourism. And I think this could be an ambition of the center, because you have the capacity to do that with the support, of course, of the stakeholders and the national governments that you already involved. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Michel. You gave us the dimensions of the sustainable blue economy. And of course, you underlined the social and economic aspects of the maritime tourism, gave us a whole-of-government approach. And of course, the contribution of the Union is valuable for us. Thank you. Mr. Magoulas, you are president of the Hellenic Center for Marine Research, an organization that delves into the preservation of marine life, particularly in the Mediterranean. What is your approach towards measuring and monitoring sustainable coastal and maritime activity? Please.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very glad to be here. I think that this may be a milestone for the creation of this center in the Mediterranean. So I would be glad to be part of it, to contribute to its development and growth. So as the previous presenters, I'm going to give you a few slides, to present you a few slides about our research center. So we belong to the Hellenic Center for Marine Research, or HCMR, which is the acronym, and I'm going to present you the capacities we have towards a sustainable marine tourism. By this I mean that we don't have so far activities that can be considered as directly linked to sustainable tourism or to the measuring of sustainable tourism, but we do have activities and capacities that can be easily linked to this target, to this endeavor, and we will be glad that this will happen. So HCMR, it comprises 3 different institutes. I'm not going to read the names. You can see, but we cover all the research from the deep sea to the coastal sea and also to the inland waters. You can see a sketch of its structure here. We have facilities in 3 different places, premises in 3 different places in Greece, in Attica, as you see here, in Crete, in Heraklion, and in Rhodes. We also possess 2 different aquariums in Crete and in Rhodes. The first one in Crete is the biggest aquarium in the Eastern Mediterranean. The second one in Rhodes is the oldest aquarium in the Eastern Mediterranean. We have a personnel of approximately 700 people, and our actual funding is approximately 26 million euros per year, of which 1/3 approximately is the state subsidy. We have 3 research vessels of different sizes, as you see here, and we have already taken a loan from the EIB, European Investment Bank, for 41 million euros. And we have to ask, but this has not been found yet, for a national contribution for 14 million euros. And this is why the construction of this ship has not proceeded yet. We have also different submersible vehicles. The one of them is to be used by men, is two-seater submersible vehicle. And the other 2 are ROV, which means remotely operated vehicles. The one of them goes up to a depth of 1,000 meters. The other goes up to a depth of 2,000 meters. But again, we are going to have a new ROV vehicle with a budget of 4.5 million euros in the context of RRF facility. And now I'm going to capacities, which I said you before that we are engaged, possibly could be used in a fruitful way with the sustainable tourism, the development of sustainable tourism and its measurement. First of all, I will talk about the Poseidon system. The Poseidon system is a weather forecasting system. It happens to be the most popular system between the fishermen and between the people sailing in the Greek seas, but its activity goes not only to the Greek seas, but also in the whole Eastern Mediterranean. It is also connected to the European system for environmental monitoring, Copernicus. It gives information about the environmental parameters, and of course it collects data. What happened? Okay. About environmental parameters, it also gives predictions about weather, about the magnitude of waves, and so on. This is an example here. There was an accident in the year 2017 in Greece. A ship was wrecked, and there was an oil spilling. This system successfully predicted the places where the spill would go. You can see them on the top right finger with the red color. The second activity is the production and use of artificial naturoid reefs, which means, what it means naturoid? It means reefs that they are not of schemes like tubes or spheres, so on, but they try to mimic the rocks in the sea. We have already the so-called underwater biotechnological park in Crete, which is an area of approximately 25 acres in a distance 1 kilometer from the coast, where these artificial reefs have been employed, which have been patented by the inventor of them and also by the center. It has been used also for the creation of a spin-off company, which is called ARIA, Artificial Reef Innovative Applications. These reefs are also used for recreational diving, and which gives new perspectives for marine tourism, because this is a high-quality touristic activity which contributes to the growth of economy, to the prolongation of touristic period, to the opening of new markets. This recreation diving invention of HCMR, based on this, there was a diving parks network, a recreation diving parks network created in the region of Crete. There are already 3 parks to be developed in the coasts of northern Crete. We also deal with the development of offshore wind parks, and especially the floating ones, because they produce significantly smaller environmental impact when compared to their seabed fixed counterparts. And also they can be used for multiple purposes in combination with aquaculture, diving, tourism, etc. You see here an example of such a multi-use offshore platform, which can be used not only for wind and solar energy, but also for aquaculture purposes, Already we have chosen a place, an area in the sea, just north to the Crete, where such a platform could be developed. Also, we study the development of marine wind energy in Greece, so we try to find which are the best places for the development of marine wide parks. And for this, of course, we study very many different technical parameters, the main of which is the wind speed at the bottom depth, and also all major environmental constraints. So in this map, it's not very clear, but you can see which areas in Greece are best suited for the development of marine wind energy platforms. We also study the interactions of aquaculture with the marine environment. This is to buffer the conflicts with other coastal zone users, such as fishermen, fisheries and tourism, the mitigation of environmental impacts, and also the planned development of aquaculture activities to avoid the impacts of the marine ecosystem and to produce tailored and area-specific environmental monitoring plans. We are also actively working on maritime spatial planning. We also participated in European initiatives such as the Maritime Spatial Planning Directive and also the Marine Strategy Framework Directive. This is a work and study being performed for many years now, and we hope that they continue for many more in the future. And of course, this contributes to the Blue Growth Goals, which creates a framework for evidence-based and inclusive maritime spatial plans, which is a precondition to maritime activities to thrive. We also have been involved in citizen science and ocean literacy actions. Of course, citizen science is an important section for which data can be collected not only by using let's say, the devoted scientists, but also the general public, which can collect different data about, for example, pollution indices and so on, the presence of alien species, which is a big problem for the Eastern Mediterranean, species coming from the Red Sea, the so-called Lysepsian migrants, jellyfish blooms, also assessing marine biodiversity, and assessing and monitoring the plastics along the beach. These are two examples of projects that have been already executed regarding citizen science. The one is called Comber, the other is called Reconnect. I'm coming now into the ocean literacy issue, but here we have specified it in the Mediterranean region. So there is a paper produced about the Mediterranean Sea literacy. You can see here the paper. The main contributors were from our center. And there is also an application developed by which the tourists, the general public can take profit of the already existing knowledge, but at the same time they also add to this knowledge by providing information about biodiversity, meteorological and oceanographic data in the region. And so we can trace environmental problems and monitor the region. And the last one is our involvement in the so-called European network IMOBON, which is a network recognized by the United Nations in the context of GeoBeach project, and especially the omics the omics part of it. So it's the purpose is the discovery, long-term systematic monitoring of marine biodiversity of invasive species to assess the human impact, the impact of human activities and climatic change, which contributes to the direction of sustainable ecosystem. And this is made by large-scale DNA sequencing of most marine organisms. What is important is that it seems that this system has already secured the funding for the next years, because it is, as I said, the pan-European activity. It has been supported by the national bodies such as UN. So that's all. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Magoulas. The Poseidon system could contribute to the project that refer mainly to the environmental issues, of course, and the integrated maritime policy is a valuable tool for the sustainable issues in the maritime tourism ecosystem. So your contribution will be valuable for the ministry. And to see the whole of government approach, to foster sustainable tourism development, we need informed decisions and evidence-based policy making at all levels. So what pivotal role is there for industry stakeholders, regional authorities, and destinations to play in measuring and monitoring coastal and maritime tourism development? Michel, what role do Mediterranean coastal and maritime regions play in monitoring the social, economic, and environmental sustainability?
Can you hear me? Yes, okay, that's perfect. Well, I think that, as I said before, we have the advantage that many projects in this field were developed in the last years. As, for example, in the first panel, Mr. Leroy of the CPMR told us. So we need to, the fact that data are important to design policies in a very specific sector, such as coastal and maritime tourism, this is out and out. I mean, also there is an awareness at policy level of the importance at this stage of data and data collection. What I would like to say is that we don't need to identify any new tools, any new approach, because thanks also to many cooperation projects that were developed in the last years, tools and approach were already shared at Mediterranean level. So we have this lucky circumstances, if I can say so, that the policy awareness and the technical information are matching together. So we just need, and that's why for me, for example, the establishment of the center is important, because we only need to systematize all the information, and we need only to have an overall view on what is already on field. So the center, in my opinion, has the ambitious goal to read all the information, to put together all the main stakeholders that have this information, that can read and use this information to develop this field. Another challenge is, and you mentioned it before in your introduction, is the aerospace and the data space for tourism. This is another thing that we should develop. The European Commission give us the tools to develop these issues. We need to strengthen on this issue the collaboration with the South Shore countries, and I think that the center could be really, could play a really important role in this sense.
Do you hear me? It's okay. Thanks. Thanks. Thanks, Michel. Yes, I believe that the process and management of all this very kind of data, it's the new challenge, because we need a lot of data in the tourism ecosystem, and so we try to manage them from a lot of sources. But the challenge is how to manage them and how this data help the decision-making policy for the policymakers, and not only for them.
If I can add something, and Mr. Guerrero told us before, it's just a matter of priorities. I mean, we don't need to do everything in the same moment. We need to identify priorities, and I mean, the path that you undertaken through the involvement of other national authorities and involvement of stakeholders could help you in identification of the priorities. On that priorities identified in a shared path, can help us to identify those data that are important to be read.
Exactly, exactly. Mr. Magoulas. what do you feel should be the contribution of local communities to your work?
We have reached a good level of communication and collaboration with local stakeholders, but this is not an easy task. I mean, for example, sometimes people are not very convinced about why they're asked. For example, fishermen, sometimes they think when you are asking them about their income that this is going to be given to the tax authorities. Or they think that maybe this will cause a bad luck in their work. So you have to establish a climate of good faith and of trust between the people that provide the data. I think we have succeeded so far because we have many years of experience in this direction. But I would like to say something else in practical terms. I mean that the amount of data that can be collected from the tourist section is immense. I mean, you need big data infrastructure and maybe a specialist in big data management in order to deal with them. So maybe I think this was suggested also in the previous panel. We should focus in some part. I think the first step to do is to select what kind of data this center, which is a very important initiative, will concentrate upon in the first time. So maybe it could be, for example, impact on the diversity, on the environment in general. It could be the impact on the economy of the touristic sectors and so on. But I think if somebody starts with every possible type of data, it will be a very difficult task.
You are right. It's a crucial aspect of this challenge. And the awareness of local people in local level, regional level, could be vital for the achievement of the whole of government approach. To you, Zrinka, based on your best practices in monitoring the sustainability of coastal and maritime tourism in Croatia, both on the national and local level, what are the experiences with local governments involved in the monitoring process? Please.
Thank you. And I would maybe, my answer will be a little bit maybe different than that Michelle said, that if I understand, that we don't need more data, that we have a lot of data and we just have to connect data with the policy. At the local level, I should say that we still miss a lot of data when you come to the local level governance. And I think that we should somehow try to collect and that can be also maybe the one of the role of the future monitoring center, try to collect data at the level of local destinations, because by doing that we will not only have the impact in destination, but we will also raise awareness on that at the destination level. What Antonios mentioned, that maybe at the destination level that awareness is not always very high. So by measuring the tourism impacts at the local level, we will not only have good indicators, but also we will somehow raise awareness on necessity to measure tourism. I would say that maybe Croatia did with this new legislation one important step towards that, because in legislation every destination is obliged to measure some of the impacts of tourism. Of course, destinations will need some kind of support and some kind of framework how to do that. How it will work in practice, well, let's meet again in a year or so I will tell you. I don't know if I answered your question.
Yes, of course, Ringa. But I suppose that it's a common sense that we need to connect data with a policy approach. The data, it's a key element for the policy decision making.
Yes, of course. No. As I understand, Michelle said that we do have data and we now have to work on connecting data with the policy. But I'm not so sure that we still have enough data to do good policy, or at least at the local level. Maybe we do have qualitative data on national level, and we can do this connection between data and policy. Of course, policy should be based on the real data. But when you come to the destination level, then we are missing, I think, a lot of data still.
No, but I totally agree with you. I mean, I was misunderstood maybe. I only told that we know how to collect data, we know how data we need, but of course we have to collect, and of course the local level is the essential one. I totally agree with you. I totally agree.
Okay, we are in the same path in any way. Of course. So, to conclude with the role of the Monitoring Center for Coastal and Maritime Tourism in the Mediterranean region, so how could the Monitoring Center for Coastal and Maritime Tourism could contribute to measuring the sustainable development of coastal and maritime tourism? Mr. Magoulas, shall we start with you in this round?
Just to add something which my colleague here said, that we know the ways, if understood right, to collect data. I mean, the technological developments, they produce new ways to collect data. For example, now we can do the eDNA procedure, method, by which you get data that you would need much more time, and maybe even with much more time you could not collect the same variety of data. So if we go into, for example, using molecular data, this would be a way that is not so far applied, executed. It would be a great asset for this field. For example, what I mentioned before about this IMO-BON is something that you use the same standards. There are the same protocols which are applied in different places all over the world. It was written on the map. And then this is repeated every year. And you can have a snapshot of what happened, I repeat, under the same protocols all over the world. And you see the trends in the year. So if you are going to study the impact of climate change, for example, this is a valuable tool, which was not, I think, available some years ago.
One of the main targets in the Ministry of Tourism is to have an holistic approach and a methodological tool for all the countries in the coastal and maritime tourism to follow this with the same principles in order to collect data and to contribute this data in the policy approach, the policy decision making. So because of this, the contribution of academia, the research center, of course, the private and stakeholders and associations could help us in this framework. So, Michelle, we have followed the project from its very beginning.
Yeah.
As you have participated in the initial consultation that was conducted by the Ministry of Tourism with national, MED and local stakeholders to discuss the need to measure and monitor. What is your point of view about the research agenda that should be set by the Monitoring Center?
Well, I was thinking that a long path. You did a long path till now, and we mentioned before that the national law that established formally this center. What I was thinking about is that you should have the fuel to do concrete things, and in order to give. Sustainability to the community that you are establishing around this center, not only through the involvement of national authorities and the stakeholders, etc. But you need to, to promote projects in order to have concrete results. And in my opinion, you have a lot of experience in this. We were talking before about the Italy-Greece project, for example. We have the opportunity to use a lot of the European funds, both of the European Commission and the Interreg programs, for example, to develop concrete things. And in my opinion, all these funds, considering the one of the European Commission, considering the cooperation programs, we have all the tools to build contribution and to have contribution from academia, from all the stakeholders that you mentioned, because of course the topic is continuously evolving, so we need to update step by step all the information that we have. But in terms of skills, as we mentioned many times, skills, we have the skills in the academia, in the national authorities also, to concretely achieve the results. I think that the ambition of the center should be to achieve concrete results in a very short time, and in this sense, the experience gained at project level should be a key to focus on. So, if I were, the center, I will promote a lot of projects in order to have the fuel to do things, to promote results, even to increase the awareness of local communities. We marked a lot on the lack of awareness in local communities, which are the key actors, in my opinion, that can really move through the development of coastal and maritime tourism. So, not only research, but also awareness, and we have all the funding opportunity to do this.
Thank you, Michel. We need your contribution in any case, and we need to have a common approach for the management of the data. And Zrinka, Croatia has also demonstrated willingness to support the monitoring center. While presenting your research agenda, you mentioned the research on the environmental impacts of nautical tourism. Can you elaborate it a little bit more? How could the monitoring center contribute to this issue?
Okay, I think I will continue what Michel started with the word concrete. I think that we need concrete ideas, concrete help how to do something. When I mentioned nautical tourism, and if you remember, I mentioned that in order to somehow estimate the environmental impact of nautical tourism, we do need some standards. If we want to say that nautical tourism produce so and so solid waste, we have to measure it. So in terms of this monitoring, the new monitoring center, I think we should somehow you should base yourself on the already established and developed initiatives. So of course that the base should be UNWTO statistical framework, and then INSTA observatories. We do not need something else, but from all these frameworks, we need something concrete. And maybe this will be a good point to start. What Michel said, let's do a lot of projects and to have some concrete results, how to measure that, and to have some concrete results on, for example, standards of solid waste production on the yachts, solid waste production on the motorboats, etc., etc. So let's use the existing frameworks and let's try to do something concrete. And I think that this center could be a really good platform to exchange all these practices and to give us some to exchange knowledge and to give us some new knowledge. Of course, also, Michelle, sorry for mentioning you all the time, but you picked a very important thing, and that is the raising awareness at the local level. And when I was talking about measuring sustainability at the local level, measurement is very important, but almost the same importance that measurement is raising awareness. So if we measure environmental impacts on the destination level, we will somehow raise awareness of local population that we should think about environmental impact of tourism. Thank you.
Thank you, Zrinka. So I suppose that we have the indicators, we have TSI, we have tools that we could measure the impacts of the social, economic, environmental dimensions, and we need to specify the aspects of the coastal and maritime tourism in order to have a more concrete methodological approach and framework for the measurement. So, to conclude, please, Mr. Magoulas.
I would like just to underline, to stress the importance of standardization. I mean, if you have different countries or authorities or municipalities collecting data in different ways, analyzing data in different ways, so maybe, because we also talked about different projects, maybe one project to start with is to have a project about standardization. Just a single project with the goal, the target of standardizing methods to be applied. Otherwise, there will be no sense in these things.
We agree. I believe that, Zrinka, Michelle, we agree.
Yes,
we agree in this base.
Standardization is really very important. Thank you for mentioning that.
Okay, to conclude, I would like each one of you to make a final comment, a very brief final comment. If you could, in just 1 minute, give us a final insight to guide our next steps towards sustainable development in coastal and maritime tourism, what would that be? Michelle, please.
I was reading my note of today, and I took note of a sentence of Mrs. Green this morning, in the previous panel, that data tells us a story. I think that, yes, of course, data tells us a story, but data can help us to design the future. And as we are in a context, the one of the COP28, where we are trying to design the future, I think that the establishment of the center could help all the Mediterranean countries to design the future in terms of development for coastal and maritime tourism.
Thank you. Thank you, Michelle. Mr. Magoulas.
I would wish that the creation or the establishment of this center would contribute to, in a very beneficial way, to the three components of sustainable tourism. That is the society, the economy, and the environment. And of course, we are talking about the ideas, but we need also the practical things. For example, I don't know if this center, which is going, the creation of which establishment is going to be funded by RRF sources, is going to have support after that, because RRF projects are going to end by the end of the year 2025. So what happened next? Because this is a big problem with infrastructures we have in Greece. The funding and supporting is episodic. You have for 3-4 years, and then you have nothing. You have a gap. So maybe this could be very good to take care of.
Of course. Zrinka, please.
Yeah, well, I didn't have this in mind before, but listening this discussion today, I have just a short 3 words: measure and share. I think this is maybe nice conclusion of all of our discussions, at least from my point of view. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for your contribution today and for this very fruitful discussion. Thank you.
Bye-bye.